Hello and welcome to the R is Silent podcast. I am your host, Evan with the silent R, and today we're here with another special guest. Let's get into it. All right, so please tell us your name, your age, and what you do for a living.
Hi guys, my name is Gencia Barca, aka Vibe & Co. I am 34 years old. I actually just turned 34 last week. I'm a moon baby, July 12th, 1989. I'm still young. And what I do for a living as of right now is just entrepreneurship. I started my own streetwear clothing brand. It's called Vibe & Co. It's a brand that celebrates the legacy behind an individual's purpose, grind, and ambition. And what we're here to do is just serve urban youth and the remaining Toronto demographic as a reminder that your dreams are valid. You don't need to shoot like Kobe, kick like Messi, rap like Drake. Just find what you do and give it 365.
So tell us how you got started with your business and how you came up with the name Vibe & Co.
So initially, I started off as a college assignment. I was studying at the time public relations. I was at Humber College on Lakeshore, and I was assigned an assignment to start a blog post initially. So I started off a blog post, and it was at that time it was Billboard had just released their top 10 of greatest rappers of all time.
Okay.
And it was absolutely sickening. Like, they didn't have any of the like pioneers of hip hop. Biggie wasn't mentioned, Nas wasn't mentioned, Pac wasn't mentioned, Scarface wasn't mentioned, just none of the titans in hip hop that you sort of, if you're a hip hop head and an enthusiast, you know about these names. So I just went off on a special rant, like what really grinds my gears sort of thing. And then from there, I just continued. I decided to continue with the blog, and I said, okay, like, why don't I start writing about hip hop content?
Okay.
Because I felt that there wasn't a female perspective out on that at that time. The females that were blogging or that were doing podcasts or starting their own brands, it was more makeup or an aesthetic or appearance, lifestyle, travel. So I knew I wanted to take on a different stance, and I knew enough to have an opinion on hip hop. So I started just debuting original discussions. One of the discussions, for example, was called Waves. And what I did was I analyzed sort of like what Kanye just got canceled for, right? Where he was talking about how, there's certain executives, they're Jewish executives that they pump so much money into the criteria where it's like aggression within the Black community or the Latino community. Yeah. So I started analyzing why Eminem was so controversial. And what I discovered was the reason why he was so controversial was because Eminem had blue eyes, blonde hair, and white skin. So once that aggression and that violence and our reality started seeping into the homes of these executives that fund this type of music, but only for brown and blacks, that's when he started getting hit with lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And he even talked about it in his track White America. And he makes like a couple of jabs like, oh, now it's such a catastrophe because now it's happening in a white neighborhood, right? But when it's happening in the hood, it's not a problem. You guys don't blink an eye.
Yeah.
So I started off like with a blog, and then I said, you know what, let me start off a brand, right? And I started going through the logos, and I started thinking about, okay, well, what represents hip hop? And what I came down to the conclusion was that hip hop is a vibe. What I mean by that is we can be complete strangers, and we can be in a bar, and if they play Biggie Smalls and you hear, it was all a dream, I used to read, everybody in that, like, regardless if they're strangers, you guys just became an instant choir. So it turns into a vibe. So then that's when I was, okay, that's going to be the name, but what represents that? So then I went on Google on like Vibe, and the peace hand kept on coming up. So I'm like, okay, like that works. And initially, believe it or not, our logo, so this is one of our logos, it's called our signature logo, but our original and our stamp logo, our trademark logo is our bones. That was the original. But originally it started off as a hand, and I just didn't feel like, I'm like, that doesn't look rough enough. Like, that doesn't look like hip hop, that looks like tee I sell cookies. Like, no. So I decided to change it. I got with my graphic team, and I like turn it into like a skull, like a bones.
Yeah.
And ever since they did that, I just took it, ran with it, debuted our first 25 toques. I was so nervous. I thought, oh my gosh, no one's going to support me. Oh my gosh. Sold out within 2 hours.
Oh,
And
wow.
then from there, we released our cruise. Same thing happened. We only debuted 25. We got sold out within 2 days. And then I sort of took a break. I sort of fell back. At that time, I think I was just still sorting out my own life. I guess I didn't believe enough in myself. That's the reality. So at that time, I just felt like I wanted more of something that I was familiar with and comfortable with, because entrepreneurship is a whole other beast. Like it's either you're made for it or you're not, because trust me, my first pop-up, a girl did not even want to show up. I did not. I was like having an anxiety attack up in my bathroom, all right? Like I was like, no, I'm not going to go. Oh my God. I was freaking out because I had my hair tied back how I have it now. What's the problem, girl? Like, why are you freaking out? Like, so, but yeah, that's basically how we started. It started off as a blog, and then I debuted as a brand. And then from there, we started growing from there.
Wow. So talk to the people about how you go through the process of creating the t-shirts, the toques, and even just creating any of the gear that you make. What is the process that you take?
Okay, so the first process, right now there's a lot of hands on our merchandise.
Okay, so you have a team of people that work
Yes,
with you.
so we have a team. So we have a cut and sew seam. So everything is Canadian made, and well, the garments itself, the blanks aren't necessarily produced developed in Canada, but our supplier is located in Ontario. So everyone's located within the GTA, so they're in arm's reach. So what we start off with is we first start by sourcing the blanks. So we go to our supplier, we get our blanks sourced, and then from there we will take it in the sense of, for the ladies, for example, these are our signature crops. We only did a promo for them for the month of at the beginning of June, but we are going to bring them back out around September. But just for example, this is customized. So this is actually a whole crew neck. It's a large crew neck. What I ended up doing is I found a cut and sew seamstress in the local area. We chopped it up. I told her what I wanted. She sort of showed me a sample, and I said, okay, so we started customizing the crops. So if I need anything cut and sew, we also now tag our clothes at the bottom. You'll always find a customized logo tagged right at the bottom of your t-shirts, your crew necks, your anything that's vibe, you'll have a customized tag at the bottom. And we also have our customized back tags as well. So all of that is done through our cut and sew seamstress. And then the embroidery that you're seeing here, this is actually another step. So this is done through an embroidery process. It requires you to put it under a machine that has a lot of needles, and you put a plate so it holds it in place. You put a padding behind it so it holds the stitching in place. And what it will do is it's computerized. So you send the design to the machine. The machine then outlines it, like how it should be graphed out, and then it applies it to that. It'll apply that actual graphic in stitch to the garment that you're working with. So shout out to Out of the Blue. We've been friends since we were 15 years old. So being able to...
That's another brand.
Yes, that's another brand. They're the ones that do all of my embroidery. I've known them since, like I said, since we were 15 years old. So being able to have them as part of the team on this journey is a tremendous honor. Shout out to them. They really have my back, man. They've saved me so many times, and I appreciate them. Pancho and James, love you guys long time.
So what has been your inspiration for wanting to be an entrepreneur?
So my inspiration actually came out of desperation. And that's actually so ironic. So
tell us the story.
So I started Vibe, the blog, in 2016. We debuted the clothing in 2017. But besides our toque debut and our crew neck debut, we didn't do anything else. So from 2017 till about 2022, I didn't do anything with the brand. I sort of just focused on my corporate career. I focused on how am I going to grow, because I was an automotive receptionist at the time. And I just wasn't happy. I hated dealing, not for anything, with a-hole customers. Why are you screaming at me? I do not do your oil change, ma'am. Ma'am, relax. Okay. So I got tired of having to deal with that and I just wanted to advance. So I ended up doing that. So I advanced from my receptionist automotive career. I started off as a sales receptionist and I grew up to become a finance assistant. And within a 6-month period, I was promoted to finance manager. What was really ironic about that entire journey, and I just see God's favor in my life 24/7, is that I was told by everybody, and I mean by everybody, they're like, you're not going to become finance manager without hitting the sales floor. It's impossible. And it's never been done. You got to know how to sell. I didn't do any of that. I went from reception to finance assistant. I downpacked the administrative part of that role. And then I jumped to finance manager. So I sort of jumped into sales, not knowing how to sell. And I started off in May. And by within a week, my director came to my office. He's like, okay, you're going to go on the floor today. I was like I was freaking out. He's like, girl, you're either going to sink or swim. By the grace of God, I swam. But what ended up happening was that in the middle of my career, I was hit with a curveball and the company let me go. So I got fired. And at that time, I was very distraught. I was very confused. I was even downright, looking at God like, bruh, you got to be joking, because in the middle of my career, I had started with Honda as a finance manager and I loved the Honda brand. That was one of the first cars that I ever had on my own. So I had a very deep connection with the Honda brand. But in the middle of my career, they just brought me into the office on a Friday and told me, oh, as of Monday, you no longer work for us here at Honda. You're going to work for Subaru, a brand I had no interest in, as a complete curveball. And I said, okay, well, at first I was sulking. I was like, oh, this is such BS. And but then I was like, you know what, God, whatever, head up, chest out. I got this. I'm not a punk, I'm going to go through with it.
Yep.
Got brought into a meeting. They asked me how I'm going to improve my performance, the numbers that I'm going to produce. I said that on a Monday. My director knew he was firing me on the Tuesday, but decided to humiliate me in this meeting and made me go into a huge schmeal on how I'm going to, and I was already upping my performance, So the next day he comes in, he just slides a letter across the door. He's like, as of today, you no longer work for us. Wow. So I was very distraught. I thought that I didn't have it in me. I ended up booking a trip to Miami. Oh, wow. Shout out to my boy D, my girl Hillary. I love you guys for life. I love these guys for life. As soon as I got there, the first 2 questions that they asked me is how are you and how's vibe? The second that they asked how's vibe, my heart sank to my ass crack. I was like, wow, these guys are asking me about something that I don't even believe enough to even carry out. Wow. And I told them, I haven't done anything. The lecture that I got, because these are older heads, right? They're in 37. So they're the lecture that they're going to, no, you need to start. If you were to come down here from Miami and do pop-ups and do this, and they started all these ideas. So then finally I wanted to move to Miami and didn't end up working out. I ended up coming back to Toronto. And I remember I was stuck. I was okay, I don't know what I want to do. Should I go back to finance manager? Should I go back to this? So I remember sitting at a table like this in my apartment, what used to be in my apartment. And it was a white table. I sat down and I talked to God. I remember I said, from point A to point Z, this is what I intend to do with this brand. If this is your intention for me, if this is your plan for me and purpose, then I ask that you align it and that you let me know, you sort of show me. We were logged. One thing I didn't mention was that our Instagram page right now, we were logged out of that page for for almost 2 years.
Because of inactivity?
No, because for some reason, I was obsessed with changing my numbers. And, they do the 2-step authentic, whatever it is. Okay. Yeah. It's annoying. Cut it out. All right. So because I changed my numbers so much, I didn't have the old numbers. So then I couldn't confirm that it was me. Hey, it's me. It's my account. And, trying to get through to the metaverse is ridiculous. So I ended up getting logged out. So after I did that prayer, the next day I remember I was walking past my phone and something's try and get into your Instagram, into Vibe. And I'm I remember saying this out loud because I knew it was God telling me why? It's a waste of time. I've already tried. It's not going to work. Just give it a try. I kid you not. I tried to log in, access granted. And ever since then, we've been growing ever since then. At that time, we had 1,500 followers. Now we're at 2,104. That's without any major branding, major marketing, major promotional campaigns. That's just literally doing pop-ups, doing the grind work, coming out and just connecting with people. I actually had a lot of people that came up to our, like, that saw us live in our pop-ups, and they're like, the one thing that attracted us to you, and this is a tip for any entrepreneur, if you're doing pop-ups, bro, why are you a mannequin behind your table? Like, no one's gonna come to you and talk to you. So like what I started doing differently is I got out from behind my table. I went around and introduced myself to every single entrepreneur in there. I let my presence be known. And then from there, I ended up not even sitting on my back, ended up hurting because I was standing for so long, because every single person that stopped by, I'm like, hey, how are you? What brought you here? Da, 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 having conversation, completely ignoring my brand. You know what that did? It made people even more curious. Like, who are you? Like, do you work for the pop-up? I'm like, yeah, I'm Viva Code, da, 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 da. I told them. And that actually is what got us a couple of sales. And that's actually what grew our Instagram community the way that it has grown. And what the bonus about that is that, like, within a year, we've seen, it's been a tremendous opportunities that have come our way. We've connected with Donovan Bailey. We've connected with Tony Yayo. Now we have a store placement within a year. So
talk about that store placement, because I think we worked with them as well.
Yes.
Shop D&J. Talk about that.
Yes. So shout out to Shop D&J's. I love the team there. They're a group of young Black entrepreneurs. I love the hustle. I love seeing the grind. I like people that get theirs out the mud, because I can relate to that so much. And I think that's what drew me so much to hip hop culture, was just a little brief history lesson. Because, by the way, guys, hip hop is turning 50 this year on August 11th. Be sure to tune in, because we're most likely going to be doing an event. So I'll keep everybody posted to celebrate that, because that's a tremendous, tremendous milestone for us. But what drew me to hip hop was the fact that when hip hop first started, every single record executive slammed the door in our faces. They weren't interested in our sound. We were too Black. We were too brown. We were too aggressive. We were too street. We were too hood. And now, leading up to 2022, I am proud to say we are the #1 streamed genre internationally. We have surpassed rock and roll for the first time in history. Wow. Those are major numbers. And that's what I could relate in terms of hip hop, was the fact that everybody kept on told them stop making noise. They kept making noise anyways, and they eventually came back to buy the building. And now we outstreamed rock and roll, we're #1 stream genre. Wow. And we have more and more artists drawing themselves to hip hop. So that's what sort of drew me to hip hop, was the grind and the hustle of all these artists that, they started off in the hood. Look at a Jay-Z, 8 years took him to get hot, started off selling, and just developed himself from there. So I noticed that in a lot of the titans, like Nas, Tupac, Biggie, rest in peace. Yep. And that's honestly what drew me to that.
So I wanted to ask, do you think people in Toronto support businesses like yours?
I do. At first I had this very negative stigma, that I wasn't gonna get any support. But the truth is you won't get any support from people that That's the ugly truth. You won't get real support from the people that because I've realized that some people want to see you doing good, just never better than them. And I've also realized that some people get hurt because you started in the same place as them, but you didn't stay there. So I do know that people that know me may not support me as much as complete strangers. But what I've learned is that those complete strangers are God sent. Because I remember I did just a pop-up at Stack Market. Shout out to I Got You, Bianca. She's amazing. Like, if you guys need shades or anything, go check her out, Stack Market. She's there for a whole year. I did a pop-up with her, and it was raining, and I only made 3 sales. I didn't even make back what I paid to do the pop-up. Wow. But I was so happy. And like, my cousin's like, why are you so happy? Like, but he didn't understand. And like, I'm happy because I connected with 3 complete strangers that saw my brand, identified with it, and said, yo, I'm feeling this. The fact that I could connect with 3 complete strangers and they could say, yo, I see the vision, I see the grind, I see your hustle, I'm gonna give you my loot. That to me shows me that there is support in this city. It's just, unfortunately, you're not gonna get it within your circle. And the reality is that the people within your circle aren't gonna get with what you're behind until it starts moving. So you got to put in the grind, and then eventually once you circle back, you might get a little bit more support from them. And then if you don't, you whatever, I still want to see you eat, just not on my table, you know?
You've said a lot of really amazing things.
Thank you.
Like nonstop. Kudos to you. I think now is a good time to get into the question box.
Okay.
I've created some custom questions for our guests today. Yeah, you don't even have to pick them one by one. Feel free to randomize them as you like.
Would you rather work a 9 to 5, make 100K per year, or be an entrepreneur? Be an entrepreneur.
I believe the question is be an entrepreneur and make 50K.
50K per year, sorry. Well, right now as an entrepreneur, I'm not touching that. Not yet. But I rather be an entrepreneur and make 50K, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
When I was a finance manager, guys, this finance manager, for anybody that doesn't know, there is no cap to what you can make. My highest gross in 1 month was $13,000.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
After taxes?
After no.
Before taxes.
Before the government
The
came and
tax
raped
man
me,
had to
yeah.
come.
After the government was done with me, it was about like 8,000 and change.
I can
Okay,
imagine.
like true dump. Anyways,
I know.
so I was working, and you can make as a finance manager, you can make 120,000 per year, 150,000 per year. There's no cap. It's really up to you and your performance.
Right.
I kid you not, I would cry in between my clients. I would be in the bathroom bawling my eyes out. I don't want to be. Like the person that I was previously with, he would like have to console me before my shift because I hated going in there. Like I was so miserable, and I was making more money than I ever made ever before. And I had my apartment, I had my car, I could buy whatever I wanted, and I was absolutely miserable because I was not doing something that I believed in. I grew up in a single parent household. So I do know, guys, the reality is some people are really just living paycheck to paycheck. So if they come into your office and they're saying, yo, we only have enough for this car, then I understand that. But my directors and my company wouldn't understand that. It was a very shark industry, and they do not care about your circumstances. They do not care about your choices. They just want the bottom dollar, the BBD, bigger, better deal. And I wasn't shark enough for that because I actually move with empathy for people. I actually see my grandmother and some of these older ladies that would come and sit in my office that were just living off their little pension but wanting a little, little carrito just to drive to the grocery store, come back, and I understood that. But unfortunately that industry or that they didn't understand that. So I will take entrepreneurship 50K per year, over the 100K, because I was doing it and I was absolutely miserable.
Do you like the freedom of getting to, manage your own schedule and kind of run your life and your business the way you like to?
Yes, I think the biggest benefit for me is, so as finance manager, right? Like you didn't have a set schedule. So like if I were closing and our shift ends at 8, let's just say.
Yeah.
Why am I hearing my sales rep at 7:59? Yeah, you want to come for a full hour negotiation and test drive and kick the tires? No problem. Sometimes I'd be leaving the dealer at like 11:30 at night, midnight, just because a customer couldn't make up his mind, So for me, it was just like, it just didn't, it didn't like cut it out.
Imagine if you used that own time for your business.
Exactly. So now being able to, when it's my niece's birthday, be able to be at Wonderland with her. I even posted a video on our Instagram the other day, whereas like some of you hustle to be seen, I hustle to do whatever the F I want with my family, whenever the F I want to do it. And like the main thing about that is my nieces and my nephews, right? They mean a lot to me, and being able to just be there and on their day, like it's their birthday, like the one day out of the year, people, that you make someone feel overly special, like I won't say Queen Elizabeth because whatever, but like they're a queen, okay? They're royalty. So like I want to be present for those moments. So that's the honest gift with entrepreneurship, is just being able to do that. And then, and being able to sort of learn as you go and not have anyone over your head saying, no, you got to learn faster. You know what I mean? You learn at your own pace. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Many entrepreneurs face obstacles when starting out. What are some of the biggest challenges, and how did you overcome them? So the biggest challenge for us was the sourcing of our blanks and the sourcing of a reliable embroiderer. So what we experienced in the beginning was we would be giving the specific company, I won't mention their name in order to save face, but you know who you are, and that's why you're not working with us anymore. But when we first started, we would give them a deadline. Let's just say I need it by July 30th. Why am I going in to pick up my product on July 30th? That should be done. And they're telling me, oh no, it's not done. And like we need an extra week or an extra 2 weeks. I'm like, these are customer orders. They've already been waiting for a week. Like, so that was our biggest challenge, was trying to find a reliable supplier in order to fulfill our orders. Because when we first started, there was like about 8 orders that we couldn't fulfill, and we had to actually return the money to our customers because we weren't able to fulfill the order due to just the backlog of that. And the way that I overcame that is trial and error. Like trial and error, I find that customers respect you if you're transparent with them. If you're real with them, you're not trying to fake the funk. I was honest with my customers. Hey man, like I don't have it all figured out. It might seem like I have it figured out, but I don't have it all figured out, and I'm figuring it out with you on this journey. So please be patient with me. And I never lost them as a follower. Never lost them.
What was your highest grossing month?
Summer of last year.
Okay.
It wasn't like a high specific number, but it was a high grossing month because that's when we were most active with our pop-ups. That's when we started doing our first pop-up in May, and then we did 9 of them after that. One of them being a 9-week placement at Yorkgate Mall. That opportunity, again, another tip, if I can just throw it out there for entrepreneurs.
For sure.
I'm not, listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying the word that you think I may be saying. Pitch yourself, okay? Pitch yourself. Pitch your dream, pitch your vision, pitch your grind, your ambition, and whoever is meant to help you out on that journey will come to you. Yorkgate Mall came to me because I reached out to them. I did a massive blast email to every local mall. I did Eden Center, Scarborough Town Center. I did Yorkdale. I did Square One. I did even Oakville Place. I did all these malls, and I said, hey, this is our brand. We want to do a pop-up, blah, blah, blah. We did the schmeal. And out of all those malls, Yorkgate was the only one that was game. And I think the major plus in that connection was the fact that I mentioned that I grew up in Jane and Finch. So I was born and raised in the Jane and Finch community. I moved out when I was about 14 years old. But nevertheless, that was my childhood. That was my upbringing with my cousins. So being able to get that opportunity and have even some of my cousins inside that mall with me, helping me on my pop-up. So what it was a singing competition. I ended up going in as a sponsor, and I said, okay, let's put together a singing competition. Let's get some local talent. So we did a 9-week placement there, and it was great. I was able to connect with the community there. I wasn't necessarily able to sell anything inside of the mall, only because it's a conflict of interest for the other businesses there. So it was more it was literally just to be there in community and just to show face. And what I ended up doing was just giving a prize to 3 winners, like our first winner, second winner, and third winner. And it was a great experience. It was a very humbling experience too, like walking through those doors and knowing, like, just seeing my business there, even if it was a little table. As a little girl that used to, like, my mom used to work at Yorkgate Mall, okay? She used to work at a place, it's no longer there, it was called Drapery Showroom. And so being able for her to see her daughter's own business at Yorkgate Mall, it hit home, like, at that time. It really hit home. So that was a great opportunity. So to every entrepreneur, pitch yourself. Don't worry. The worst that they can say is no. They're not going to eat you alive through your emails. Just the worst that they can say is no, and you move on and you keep it moving. That's it.
Very good. Well said.
Have you ever had to deal with a challenging competitor who tried to undermine your business? How did you handle the situation? What did you learn? I haven't really had this experience with other streetwear brands. For the most part, they've been very welcoming. It's been all love. It's been community. We followed each other back. So I haven't really had that, but I have had to deal with, I guess, people like around or within my space, like almost getting a competitive streak. It's almost like I have to be one up on them. That's the vibe that I've sort of gotten. And how I deal with that is I just fall back. I don't acknowledge it, and I just stay focused. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not trying to sound like Mother Teresa, but I pray for those people, because there's obviously something inside of them that no matter what level of success they reach, they're always going to be looking at someone else's grass. And I would hate to live like that. That is, you're living in an imprisonment, and you imprison yourself with that when you feel you need to compete with the next person. I don't feel like I need to compete with anybody, because you know why? Because I know if I see you getting blessed, what that shows me is that God's around the corner, so I'm going to be next. So I don't got to look at your blessings, because I know that God's going to come and it's going to bless me right after. What I do look for when I see somebody that's doing the same thing as me is that, like, how they inspire me. So how can I build a connection? How can I build a community with that person? And a lot of the businesses that I've connected with, for example, I Got You, was exactly because of that, was because I didn't look, we're in retail space. She might be selling her eyewear brand and I may be selling streetwear, but I could have easily looked at her making more sales than me and be like, oh, nah, screw that. I don't want to go to her store. She's going to be selling more than me. No, I want to go into that store because that's building community. The first time that we did a pop-up with her was because she won a grant from BMO, and she didn't charge a single penny. For me to bring my business into her business and make money, she did not charge me a single dime. So again, if I were to have identified her as my competition and treated her as such, we wouldn't have been able to build that connection. So to me, I've experienced that within my space. It might not be my close space, but I just fall back. I pray for those people and I just stay focused on me and I stay in my lane, because at the end of the day, I know anything that's meant for me, it doesn't matter who doesn't want it for me. I'm qualified. God put me in the room. So
here's another question. I'm curious to know how your family feels about your decision to be an entrepreneur. Oftentimes, parents want us to get a 9-to-5, have stability, take care of ourselves, especially if you're from a specific culture. So talk to us a little bit about any challenges or your experience with your family members either believing or not believing in your business, or not feeling like it's good enough for you to survive on.
yeah. So refreshing enough, my parents, because they're entrepreneurs too. Okay. So my father has his own construction company. He started it with my grandfather when my grandfather had just migrated here, and he was just, he was growing up as a kid. Now he does his own, he does his portion in the company. My mom is also an event coordinator. She used to be a waitress, but now she has her own business, and now she's in the biggest wedding magazine in Ontario. It's called Wedlocks. She's been featured on there about five or six times. Yeah, 5 or 6 times. So they understand the hustle. They understand the grind. But they're still parents, so they will be like, my mom would, sort of like a soft jab, like, but like, what about benefits? Like, wouldn't you want some benefits? And and I'm like, I do, but I understood that my first year I had to build up the marketing and the brand awareness to us, and there was no way I was going to be able to juggle a finance manager position where my sales reps were inconsiderate jerks telling a customer, when I close at 7:59, come and do a full hour negotiation. There would be no time. Like, I would be so mentally drained from that position. Wow. So my parents, what makes them support me is that they see me happier. They see me happier with less. So to them, they see that there's something going on. There's something lifting, or there's something keeping this girl afloat. So with my parents, they might, like, here and there try and implement the idea, but they don't enforce it, because what they see is growth. It'd be different if I just had this dream and I was just sitting on my butt and saying, I have a dream and I want to do this and I want to do that. And that's great. You want to do all those things. But, I learned a very long time ago that talking is just talking without action, So we got to put that hustle behind. So fortunately, my parents see that I'm grinding. They see that I'm hustling, and they see that the growth, right? They see it. It's not something that they're able to be like, oh no, it's not moving at all. Like, it is. It's growing, and as it grows, they're happy about that. And to my extended family, they've been like beyond supportive. They've come to at least a pop-up or two. They've purchased with me, bought a hat. They tell their friends about me. They'll do their little content like at the gym, you know, with my hat, my snapback. They'll tag me. They'll take pictures with a full fit on. So all of these little things, like these little ways of support, they really help us grow, because you help us guys tap into your network, into your community. When you guys rock with us, when you guys wear something from us, people are curious, like, oh, well, like, you know, you're rocking with them. So like, what's so good about them? And it makes them curious. And that's what's sort of helped us grow. So I'm highly favored by God to have a supportive family, and to have a family that truly believes in me. Like I had one person in my family telling me like, well, you could do both. Like, you don't have to do this and you don't have to do that. I'm like, bruh, if you want to operate your business like that, or start your own business. How about that? Don't come and tell me how to run my business. And then that was the end of it. Never heard from that person again, but you know.
Do you find in the space of entrepreneurship that some people don't take you seriously because you're a female?
Yeah. I think that some guys try and treat it like a dating service.
What do you mean?
Like, they'll try and slide into my DMs, and they'll slide like, oh, yo, I see your hustle and I see your grind. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. And it's like, yeah, so can I get your number? Maybe I can take you out sometime. It's like, bro, what? Like, how did we get here? Like, do you want a bucket hat? Are you willing to buy some mud? Like, what's going on here? So I do find that sometimes, depending, you know, on the setting that you mentioned that you're an entrepreneur in, you don't get taken as seriously when you're a female. Wow. But for the most part, I think the other portion of that is that you get taken extremely seriously, and that people gravitate towards you because they're like, not for anything, I'm not here to judge anybody, but nowadays females, it's seeming like the only option for grind and hustle is OF. So I'm glad that I'm teaching my nieces that you can get yours out the mud and still be relevant. You can get yours out the mud and be seen starting at the bottom, and some people will want to gravitate and rock with you and be like, yo, I like that, because they like a woman that hustles. They like a woman that has that drive. Wow. So I feel, for me right now, like the hunger that I have inside of me is to really inspire the generation that's coming up to know that their dreams are valid. That's literally what our brand stands for. Your dreams are valid. No need to kick like Messi. No need to shoot like Kobe. No need to sing like Mariah. Just find what you do, give it 365, and you'll see it, you know? So for other female entrepreneurs is pitch yourself. Believe in yourself, pitch yourself, and be authentically you. Like, bring your personality to the brand. Understand that if whether it's a swimwear, eye brand, socks, whatever, underwear, whatever it is, you are the brand. And I think that that's what really changed for me from 2016 to right now, was that I actually became the brand. I identified as the brand. And I now realize why I had to go through that finance manager position and get fired, right? Because God literally wanted to show me, like, because in that role, you only eat what you hunt. So you don't get paid a salary. There's no cushion at the end of the month. You don't sell, you're not eating. You're not paying your rent. Figure it out. Not our problem, you know? So that's what I mean in shark. So I felt like having to survive off of those sales sort of prepared me for this. It was like sort of setting this up. So for other,
like thick skin.
Exactly. And it taught me not to take a no personally, because when I first started, I was so desperate for that. Yes, I was so desperate. I needed it. I knew. I'm like, I have rent, I have my car insurance, I have this, I have that. And I was just going through the numbers constantly. Every single TO that I had, constantly going through the numbers that I needed to meet. So I was like asking for the sale, but out of desperation. What changed for me, and when my performance skyrocketed as a finance manager, where I got shouted out in a meeting, I got an award, I got the most top rated FM, was the second that I didn't operate out of that space. The second that I said, you know what, I'm going to do this for me because I made it this far. And I just started like literally building a rapport and learning not to take a no personally, and still being able to make that person feel at home. I had a lot of customers that in the first session with me, they said no. But at the second session, because they liked me so much, they ended up coming and be like, remember that rust protection you were talking about? Can we still do that? Or that warranty? I actually thought about it. It's actually a good idea. And it's literally because of that, because I pitched myself, I believed in myself, and I was authentically myself. So for other female entrepreneurs, just do that. Just be yourself. Just don't think that you have to give into this pressure and be that girl, that scandalous girl. You got to do all this for attention. You trust me, the right attention will gravitate towards you just by you being you. Like, you don't got to do all that extra weird, goofy shit. The entrepreneur journey can be a roller coaster of emotions. Have there been moments when you felt like giving up, and what made you push through despite these feelings? 100%. So our first pop-up was May 19th, 2022. Everything went wrong in that pop-up. I ordered, let's just say, for example, I ordered 40 sweaters. My supplier only gave me 30. Our signature logos are always in the center. He, for some reason, even though I instructed him and had a meeting with him and showed him, did it flush to the left on our signatures. That's not our look. I don't like it that way. I like it in the center. He also messed up the colors. I also there was just so many little things that didn't come through. And I remember I did not want to show up. I was crying, like freaking out. I was with my girl, Alicia. And I was just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. This is so stupid. I'm going to look so stupid. I'm not prepared. And it was actually Mariel that came, and she saw how I was, and she just, I guess she reached over and she hugged me, and she's like, nobody's going to know how this was supposed to come out, bitch. Get it together. And if anybody can handle this, it's you. So snap out of it. And the second that she said that to me, I was just like, you're right. And I got myself I came together, and I was like, okay, I got this. I showed up to my debut and I made sales. I connected with people, and nobody knew this roller coaster of a disaster that I created in my mind. So yeah, I definitely felt like giving up. I felt like giving up before I even started. Ironically, everybody feels like that. So the way that I fight through that, it's literally through just focusing on God. When I did the placement with Shop D&J's, I had a moment like that. This is a crazy story, guys. I am so sorry, but I have to share this, okay?
Go for it.
This is just so crazy. So, boom. Haven't been working for a year. I ended up I'm like, you know what? I'm going to find a little part-time. Ended up finding a part-time, right? And I told God, I'm like, I just want a little part-time, 9 to 1, nothing too serious, something that's close to home. Bro, get a call the very next day. The hours, 9 to 1, literally up the street from my house, 5-minute walk. Okay? No, 5-minute drive. Sorry, 15-minute walk, depending who's walking. So 15-minute walk. So I ended up going there, get the job there, working with them, doing their PR, doing their administrative. And then in March, when I ended up getting the placement at Shop D&J's, 3 weeks before we were doing our placement, they're like, we have to let you go because we cannot afford the overhead, unfortunately. And we're going to we're dismantling the entire position. I was like, guys, the stress that ran through my body from head to toe, I got a head rush. I felt like I was suffering from menopause, okay? I was like, dear Lord, what am I going to do? I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to have to postpone this. There's no way. I'm not going to be able to do it. I remember 2 days, I was so depressed. I'm talking about depressed. I'm not getting out of bed. I'm scrolling through TikTok the entire day, plugging my charger into my phone and not doing anything. I'm only getting up to eat. I was so bummy. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, I already made the announcement. How am I going to tell people now it's not going to happen? I was freaking out. Tell me why. My boy then asked me, he goes, well, when's the latest that you can have this put together by in order to carry out the debut on May 15th. He goes, okay, whatever, just random conversation. But I want you guys to remember this date of May 15th. So 4 days, I remember the Friday, we debuted on the 20th. It was the Friday before the 20th. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give up on this. But I kept on telling my cousin, I'm like, for some reason, I keep on, the story of Moses keeps on popping in my head. I don't know why. I'm like, and I just feel like the same God that created a highway out of the Red Sea is gonna be able to provide a way. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, I'm broke. I cannot do it. Like, it's not in me, right? I'm like, but I believe that God has a source. So then, sure enough, I remember I went outside, I smoked a little spliff, came inside and I prayed and I was like, God, I just feel like you need to give me a word. Like I need to hear a scripture from you or something. Like I just feel like you're going to provide a way. I know that off of my resources, I can't do it. Tell me why in that instance, a voice came into me and it's like Exodus 53:15. And I'm like, okay. I go to Google Exodus 53:15, but instead I Googled just Exodus 15. Tell me why. Okay, this was after I said, I need a word in the scripture from you. It brings me to the scripture of when the Israelites are witnessing the Egyptians, the Red Sea closing in on them, and they made it out to the other side. I started howling like a hyena, like overwhelmed with emotion because I just found it so funny. Like, oh my gosh, you're actually listening to me, bro. Like, wow, like you're actually listening to me. So ever since then, after that, I'm like, I know he's going to provide a way. I know he's going to provide a way. Tell me why my cousin randomly came to sleep over my house. She never sleeps over, okay? Randomly came to sleep over. And then the next day I'm talking to my aunt and I'm just sort of telling her, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do the pop-up. I'm going to have to postpone it. My cousin calls me into the living room. Long story short, I went to sleep on Sunday, like the May 15th. So May 14th, I went in, like, let's just say I went to sleep with like only, let's just say $30 in my account. I'm not saying that that's what was in my account, but I'm just saying, for example, $30 in my account. By the end of Monday, May 15th, it was quadruple that amount. And again, I say, remember the date, May 15th, because my boy had asked me, when's the latest so you can get all of this together? I said May 15th. And as I kept on reading the chapters in Exodus, the day 15 kept on coming up on the 15th day. So I was like, even at my speech at Shop D&J's when we did the debut, I'm like, none of this was done by me. This was all by the grace of God. I'm like, I did not do this off of my own resources. So wild story, like very wild story, but I definitely felt like the need to share that because it's all like God, like he keeps me going. He keeps me like, just focus on me. Once you start focusing on everything else, you begin sinking like Peter, focus on me and you can walk on water sort of thing.
Knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you first started out than when you first started?
That's a good question. I would focus on my marketing more. I would focus on my brand awareness more before I started doing my pop-ups, just to build sort of up that community engagement online. And then once I started doing my pop-ups, then that engagement would, be able to transition into like a live community. But what I ended up doing was that I was doing the brand awareness and the brand appearances at the same time. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just, it makes it a little bit more challenging for you because it's like you're not convincing people, but you're introducing yourself while trying to build rapport, where the trust and the rapport would have already been there had you done the marketing and the promotion from before. So I think that that's something that I would definitely do differently. I would build up the brand awareness a little bit more, like run giveaways, contests, maybe like lives, like, be on the street talking to people a little bit more. And then start with the pop-ups. But, we sort of started it at the same time, but it's paying off. So no regrets.
Very good. Very good. That was a good question.
Which celebrity or influencer would you love to see rock your brand?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a wicked question. So from an entrepreneurial side, Gary V. Gary V, because he's the one who really drilled in the content, like you building up your content, saying like it doesn't need to look perfect, just like do it, right? And I love the way he started. He started off, through YouTube channel. He started off in his 30s. He didn't start off when he was young, and now he's who he is in his 40s and leading into his 50s, right? So Gary V would definitely be one of them. In terms of a rapper, in terms of like an artist, for me, it would have to be J. Cole, The reason why J. Cole is because his instrumental is actually what inspired, helped inspire a lot of the designs, a lot of like the collections that we sort of like, which pieces or items we should have included in our collections, the logo itself. I remember sitting in my parents' basement and listening as I'm writing on my blogs, my first couple of blogs, and I was listening to No Role Models. This when 2014 Forest Hill Drive just first came out. And I was just looping that instrumental over and over and over, like to the point, like now my cousins, they, as soon as they play that song, they're like, they look over like, and we start singing that song like crazy. Like I remember I took my cousin, actually Linda, I took her to watch J. Cole live, and we actually had wicked seats. It was like the 4th row. Took her for her birthday, and that was for Your Eyes Only. He did the tour, but he started performing 2014 Forest Hill Drive tracks, and one of those tracks was No Role Models. I kid you not, the way I was yelling like a lunatic, everyone was like, yo, is this girl good? Like, is she good? He's not going to hear you. He's not going to hear you. And then the last one, if I had to choose, like in terms of an athlete, Kyrie Irving to wear our thing, our brand specifically. The reason
Kyrie out of all the players you could.
So I actually have a wild story about this.
Don't tell me you met Kyrie Irving.
No, but there's a picture of Kyrie Irving in a Vibe shirt. So let me tell you about this story. So when I was first starting Vibe, I came out with the logo. And all of a sudden, like this is when we took a hiatus, I guess, like we stopped doing, and we absolutely didn't do anything with the brand.
Yep.
And all of a sudden I see a picture and it pops up and it's of Kyrie of a Vibe shirt. It looks like, it appears to be, and it has our signature, our Bones logo all over, splattered all over the shirt. Mm-hmm. And it was after I think the Cavs had won, the championship with LeBron. Mm-hmm. And he's going like this. I actually have a picture of him. He's going like this. So the second that I saw that, I became worried because he was not wearing our brand. That was not our brand. That was not Vibe & Co. So that, like that, I was started freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm done. I'm done. That's it. My dream is done. It's over.
Because you thought somebody copied your brand.
Exactly. I ended up, so when I was in college, I entered a pitch competition where businesses go, entrepreneurs, they pitch their business and they win a share of $40,000. I made it as a semi-finalist. I got eliminated before the finalist round, but that was on my 3rd try. So never give up, never surrender sort of thing. So anyways, I ended up meeting an infrastructure lawyer, attorney in that round because I was pitching to like these people, right? And he gave me his card, and I remember him. For some reason, the name came into my head, and I contacted him right away. He's like, no. He's like, you still have rights. He goes, that doesn't mean anything. He goes, what you're going to do, like, this is my lawyer, okay, talking to me. He's like, what we're going to do is you're going to be a silent killer. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you're going to continue developing your brand, and you're going to grow it to a point where every single person that sees that logo automatically just thinks Vibe & Co. They're not going to think Nike. They're not going to think Kyrie. They're going to think Vibe & Co. So you let me know what steps you need to do in order to do that. But you're going to be a silent killer, because if you decide to be stupid enough to go after Nike, they will crush you in legal fees, and they'll spit you back out. That's what he told me. So I said, okay. He's like, so what we're going to do is we're going to submit the paperwork and you're going to trademark the logo. I ended up submitting the paperwork. On the day that it was supposed to be finalized, my paperwork wasn't going through. And the office was closing. And the guy's on the phone. I start crying. I'm like, today's the last day I'm going to be fine. I was like freaking out. The guy, like I could hear him running on the phone trying to go to his supervisor. He ended up putting the paperwork to his supervisor, and the supervisor approved and trademarked the logo on the very last day, bro. So yeah, that's a crazy story about Kyrie. So the reason why I would want Kyrie to wear our brand is so that I could tell him that effing story and tell him, you almost jacked my shit. Okay? And I don't appreciate it. And beyond that is because I feel like Kyrie's a very woke person, and I really like his stance, and I really like the fact that he's like, yo, I'm me. I'm unapologetically me, and it's either it works with you, and if it doesn't, then don't rock with me. And that's sort of like how I am. That's like my vibe too, you know? You're not obligated to rock with me, but you will respect me.
If you're enjoying this episode so far, take a moment now, hit the subscribe button, support us on the podcast. You can also listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. So make sure you check us out.
What inspired your brand and how was it evolved over the years?
How has it evolved?
So the way that it evolved was that when we first initially started, it was inspired by hip hop culture. I thought at that time that it was just inspired because I liked hip hop music. I didn't really identify with the culture because at that time I was so idle in my life. Like when I first, like I was a teenager, right? Like when I first came across hip hop. But then when I grew as like a woman, right? And I started putting in hustle and grind and, you know, growing from reception to assistant to manager, I started realizing that the brand is me. I'm the brand. I'm Vibe & Co, you know? So what am I about? So I'm about purpose. I believe that I was beautifully created by God, and I was put here to fulfill the purpose and to fulfill his purpose, you know, his will. And I'm here just to do the work, you know, reach the mountaintop, not for the world to see me, but to see his grace and his favor in my life. Number two, I'm about ambition. Every single thing that I set my eyes on, I get not because everything gets handed to me, but because I don't mind putting in the work and, you know, the hustle to get it. And then lastly, it was like the grind, right? So that's why I say like we celebrate an individual's legacy. We celebrate the legacy of an individual's purpose, grind, and ambition because that's how it's evolved. Now I realize that Vibe & Co is about purpose, grind, and ambition. And the reason why I identified with hip hop culture so much is because it resembled that. Because again, the industry told us no, and we kept making noise anyways. So it was a sound made for us and by us. And again, like we surpassed rock and roll. So that's a big milestone. So that's definitely how it's evolved. It evolved in terms of more of a legacy. We build more of a legacy now. We understand it a lot more now. I guess as I matured with the brand, it started making a lot more sense. And then when I started making the God the center of it, when I presented to him what the vision was, I think he sort of just ruled out the cloudiness that I used to have in my brain, because before I was just sort of throwing something on the wall hoping that it stuck, and I wasn't really strategizing, and I wasn't moving with purpose. I wasn't moving with a plan. I wasn't moving with a strategy. But now it's like every single day I'm thinking, okay, what's the next step? Okay, what do I have to do next? And like every single opportunity that you see, guys, is because of that, because people see the grind, because people see the hustle, and people see the ambition behind the brand, and most importantly behind me. Because when I walk into the room, you feel that essence. It's not like I walk into the room and I'm just there and I don't contribute to the conversation and I fold my shoulders. No, I walk in confident because I know God put me into that room. So I think that's how it's developed a lot, like evolved from when we first started, just making God the center and just really identifying more with the brand and knowing that it's more than just about music and more than just hip hop. It's about legacy and what it is that you're trying to leave behind in the world.
So the question is essentially asking you, what's more important for you right now, your career or a family? Because you mentioned you're 34 now.
Yes.
So what is the biggest priority?
So you're getting up there, bro. Get it together. Get married.
If that is your ambition, I know some people don't want to be married, but just for you, where you're at in your life, what's more important? Building your brand, building your career, or planning to have a family?
Is it bad that I want both?
I think it's possible to have both, but I think sometimes one needs more time than the other. One needs more focus than the other.
A family, because I feel that I've done the groundwork for Vibe & Co, where now it literally can just stand and survive on its own. We're available online. We're available in stores. We're working on our second store placement. So it's able to stand on its own, and it just requires time management from me.
Right.
So if I can lock down my time management, like let's just say I'm with a partner and my partner works like at 6 a.m, right? And doesn't come home till 5 p.m. Then I know my window to work on everything Vibe and sort of balance everything is between that time. So again, it's like time management, you know? So I think for me, it would be family, because I say it's all the time, like I want to be married, I want to have kids. Like that's something that would make me feel completely fulfilled. And I feel like in terms of my career, I sort of already developed it where it can stand on its own. Obviously, it still requires more steps, but I can manage the career and manage and while focusing on my family and building myself up as a wife and as a partner.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel pressure from friends and family because of where you're at in your life to hurry up and have kids, hurry up and get married? Do you feel that pressure? And what do you tell them? What do you think? Do you feel stress because of, them questioning you on when you're going to have babies?
I do, especially, so my mom got remarried. So my stepdad, I consider him my dad. He's definitely stepped up as a father figure. He definitely showed me how a woman deserves to get treated by the way he loves and respects and honors my mom. So I do, from his side, because his side is Italian, everyone's married by like the age of 26, 25. So I do feel pressured from my stepdad's side of the family where they
But
sort
not
of,
your mother.
not my mom.
Interesting.
Because on my mom's side, everybody it was put through single motherhood, single parenthood, right? So every single person had a kid young, and that sort of, not that they regret having their kids, but that also held them back and limited to the amount of beliefs that they had within themselves, because they knew that they were the sole provider for that child. So I think for my mom, she obviously craves to have a grandchild by me, and she obviously wants to see me married to a great man. But she also appreciates the fact that I take my time and I'm not rushing, because I feel that pressure, because it is a reality. I do feel that pressure. Obviously, so, as a woman, it's frowned upon that you're single after beyond 30, and let alone you don't have any kids. You look like broken goods. But like a man, you're an eligible bachelor. If you're no kids, past 30, you have your together, right? But like for a woman, it's like they don't care that you have all your things together, your ducks in a row, but you're not married and you don't have kids. So yeah, obviously it feeds into that. But I think when you stand with, and again, I'm not trying to sound like Mother Teresa, but I do talk about this because it is something that I believe in. I think that when you stand with God, you're able to really recognize your worth no matter what circumstance it is. And I think in my previous relationship, I was so set on making it work because I didn't want to be alone. But then when I got out of that relationship, I remember God was like, I like sat down and had a conversation, and he's like, bro, the problem isn't these men. The problem is you, because you don't recognize your worth and you don't give yourself that. You don't allow them to build themselves up to that. You somehow think, you limiting your worth or like lowering it down so that they can afford you somehow is going to develop them into this man that they need to be for you, but they're not. Like you need to find a man that sees what you're worth and says, yo, I'm willing to put in the work, the hustle to get that and to maintain that and to have that as mine forever. So I think that my mom sort of appreciates the fact that I'm very selective and that I'm taking my time versus just rushing in with anybody just to say that I have a kid, or just to say that I am married, or just to say that I do have somebody. Because what ends up happening, especially nowadays, is you end up connecting with someone, like let's just say sexually, that's the reality. And then you end up in a situationship, and for what? Just to say that you have somebody. So I realized in my conversation with God, I just realized like I want to feel fulfilled with or without a partner, because I want to feel fulfilled with just you. If I get a man that's worthy of me and that loves me and that respects me and that honors me, bomb, because I know I can reciprocate what I require, right? And I can reciprocate the requirements of my demands, sort of thing. But so I feel like with me, that's sort of what eases me, is the fact that now I'm standing and with God, and like he's telling me like, don't worry about it. If I'm making you wait, it's for a reason. You don't got to trip on that. So I think that has calmed me down. Whereas before, I didn't really have a developed or mature relationship with Christ. So I felt like that societal pressure, and I felt like I wasn't worthy because I hadn't been selected yet. But now God is like, who cares if the world doesn't select you? I already did, so that's all the worthiness you need. So that's sort of like what I've implemented in my head now. I'm not trying to make excuses for the fact that I'm going to be single with a lot of cats, guys. I'm just saying,
Is it like, do you ever feel a sense of fear for what the future might hold because of your situation?
I used to feel like a little bit of anxiety, because I thought like, well, I'm not, I don't have a partnership yet. And again, like I would look at myself, and it's not that I think that I'm perfect, because there's a lot of things that I have worked on and developed and healed about myself, because I realized the areas of me that needed to be healed. I realized the, sort of the boundaries that I needed to implement in order for myself to heal and to develop and grow as an individual.
Yep.
I used to have those fears, but again, now that I have a more matured relationship with God, I know that those fears are invalid, because at the end of the day, as long as you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose through God, like that should be the only fulfillment that you need. The world can look at you and say, well, you're not worthy, that's why you're not selected. But it's like, again, God's like, okay, the world may not have selected you, but I selected you. I looked at you in all your brokenness. I looked at you in all your filthy sin. And I said, yo, I want her in my family. So like, I feel like once you experience that type of love, I feel like it just centers you and it grounds you, so that you obviously do crave a partnership, but you don't crave it to the point where it causes fear in you, because you know that when it comes, it's going to be in God's perfect timing,
Well
So,
said.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
said.
you.
I love when God inspires people the way that He has inspired you.
Thank you.
Kudos.
Amen. What are the best methods you've learned to promote your business? Holy.
That's a good last question.
Yeah, definitely. The best way to promote my business has been through pop-ups, through live connection with people. The reason for that being is because people get to see your personality, whereas like online or in a store, it's great. They see it there. But the research that I've done in streetwear is that about 82%, I think the percentage was 82% of all streetwear enthusiasts, they buy with a brand based on three key factors: authenticity, brand legacy, and obviously the aesthetic, the look. But the two key components is the legacy and the authenticity behind the brand. So I find that when you're connecting with people live, they're able to grasp, or witness your personality, witness how you flow in a conversation, and they're able to relate more to you as a person. And that's what makes them purchase with you. It isn't because you have like a sick looking brand. That could be one factor. But the driving factor of that purchase, the bottom line, is how authentic you are and the legacy and the story behind your brand. So what I see a lot of upcoming brands do is they try and rush their process. And what I mean by this is you try and rush your process because you're trying to match the success or trying to match the milestones of other people. And the problem with that being is that you're moving very fast with no direction. So I've learned in this journey is that direction is much more important than speed, because you can go very, very, very fast and you traveling against a wall. But if you look at you set up the GPS, they'll tell you where the routes are, tell you how to avoid traffic, tell you how to avoid, certain blocks. So the importance about direction is that you're able to strategize more. You're able to plan it out more. So I think for us, it's sort of that is the fact that we saw a lot of positive feedback after our pop-ups. We've been told by more than one person, actually by various, that what attracted them to our booth or our stand was the fact that I was just trying to talk to you guys, like connect, like, hey guys, are you into hip hop? Like, who's your favorite artist? Like, it was never like, hey guys, I'm Vibe & Co. and buy from us. Like, it was never that, it was more about trying to build that authentic connection. And I think that, again, like once people see your personality, that you make them laugh a little bit, you put down their walls and you show them you're not like some type of shark, like buy from me, buy. That's what ultimately leads them to that bottom line and leads them to be like, you know what, I'm going to rock with this. Like I can support this brand. It's something that I stand behind, right? And that's why we recognize that, Vibe & Co. is a streetwear brand, but it's celebrating your legacy, right? Everybody's legacy of their own purpose, grind, and ambition, and just encouraging people to really tap into that.
Wow. We're going to do some final words. Awesome. So just plug in your business, let the people know where they can find you, and any final words you have for the people on the show.
So guys, you guys can follow us at official Vibe, VYB3. I have to do this, VYB3. Everybody thinks I'm throwing up gang signs. I'm not. It's just something me and my cousin came up with, and it just goes so well.
One more time for the people.
VYB3. 3, you already know. So you can follow us at Official Vibe, but we are also in store. We're located at Shop D&J's, the one and only Shop D&J's, at 21 Kenview Boulevard, Unit 14. We are open Saturday to Sunday, 12 to 7. We are a overall streetwear boutique, so you will not just find Vibe there. You will find the flyest hats, flyest kicks, flyest shirts, flyest shorts, pants, you name it, you'll find it there. Be sure to go check them out. And in terms of me, in terms of final words, I always say it, so I'm always going to continue to say it, guys. Believe in yourself. No, believe in God and yourselves with the same level of intensity of all times, at all times. Believe in God and yourself with the same level of intensity. There's no point in you believing in God and not believing in yourself, because the two go hand in hand. Because if you're going in prayer and you already feel defeated, then forget about what you're praying for, because he's not going to answer you. He's just going to be like, all right, well, what's the point? You already concluded what's going to happen. So, you know. So definitely just believe in God and believe in yourselves with the same level of intensity. And again, you don't need to kick like Messi, shoot like Kobe, rap like Drake. Just give what you do 365, and trust me, the grind pays off. It's worth the wait.
Thank you so much for being here on the R
Thank you
Silent
so
podcast.
much.
And thank you to everyone who's here watching live. Make sure you go on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow us on Spotify if you want to listen to this podcast on audio. It will be releasing in a few weeks. So please be sure to subscribe so you're notified when this episode drops. And we are out.